Limit is y goes to negative 3 of y squared plus 3y divided by 1 minus the square root of y plus 4. First thing we're going to do is try plugging in negative 3 for each of the y values. In the numerator we will have negative 3 squared plus 3 times a negative 3. In the denominator we will have 1 minus the square root of negative 3 plus 4. In the numerator, negative 3 squared is 9, plus 3 times a negative 3 is minus 9, divided by 1 minus the square root of negative 3 plus 4, which is a 1. So we have 9 minus 9 over 1 minus the square root of 1, which is a 1. The numerator is 9 minus 9, which is a 0. The denominator is 1 minus 1, which is also a 0. So we have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form. We will have to rework this. Since we have a root combination, a root involving the variable y in some way, and it's added or subtracted with at least one other term, that's happening right there, we can try the root conjugate method. So I'm going to rewrite this limit as y goes to negative 3, y squared plus 3y divided by 1 minus the square root of y plus 4. And I'm going to multiply by the conjugate of the root combination in the denominator, which the conjugate will be the same two terms, opposite sign between them, so it'll be a 1 plus the square root of y plus 4. And I'm going to put 1 in the numerator here as well, so that we have a form of 1. We're then not changing the value, just the look. We're going to multiply these with each other. In the numerator, we do not have a conjugate pair up there, so we're just going to keep it factored. They are multiplying each other, but we will keep it in its factored form by simply writing them next to each other. In the denominator, those are root conjugates. We are going to FOIL that out. First, 1 times 1 is 1. Outside, 1 times a positive square root of y plus 4 will be a positive square root of y plus 4. Inside, negative square root of y plus 4 times the 1 will be negative square root of y plus 4. And last, negative square root of y plus 4 times a positive square root of y plus 4 will be negative y plus 4. The outside and inside terms are equal value opposite sign. They will always cancel. The next thing we need to do is distribute that minus sign. Always be sure to put parentheses around that quantity when you multiply roots of conjugates. And you need to distribute that negative sign in. That will give us limit as y goes to negative 3 of y squared plus 3y times 1 plus the square root of y plus 4. Divided by 1, distributing the minus sign, minus y minus 4. We can now combine the 1 and the minus 4 together with each other. So this will give us limit as y goes to negative 3 of y squared plus 3y times 1 plus the square root of y plus 4 over, in the denominator, negative y, and then the 1 and the negative 4 make negative 3. Now we are still going to have 0 over 0. We haven't canceled what's making the 0 over 0 here. If you plug in the negative 3, we'll still end up having 0 over 0. It will be happening here. Negative 3 squared is 9 plus 3 times a negative 3, which is a negative 9. Those will add to 0. And it's happening here. Negative of a negative 3 is a positive 3, minus 3 is also a 0. But those do not cancel with each other just yet. We have to factor so that we can cancel them. In the numerator, there's a common factor of y. And we can factor a y out and be left with y plus 3. There's the y plus 3 factor that we expected. Since y is going to negative 3, y plus 3 makes a 0. In the denominator, we want to be able to see a y plus 3 down there as well, and for now we do not see that. However, if you factor a negative out of each of those terms, they change signs and they both become positive. We have y plus 3. Now you can see the factors that are making the 0 over 0, and they can be canceled, leaving a 1 in the denominator. Dividing by a negative 1 is equivalent to multiplying by a negative 1. 1 over negative 1 is negative 1. And so I can just move that negative 1 to the numerator. I'm just going to rewrite all of that from the numerator. At this point, we should no longer have the 0 over 0 indeterminate form. And we should be able to plug in a negative 3 for all of the y values. And that will give me negative of negative 3 times a 1 plus the square root of negative 3 plus 4. Negative of the negative of 3 is a positive 3. And then 1 plus the square root of negative 3 plus 4 is a 1. So we have 3 times 1 plus the square root of 1, which is a 1. So we have 3 times 2, and that comes out to 6.